I hope you can hear me okay. I'm Jonathan Holmes, one of the external account managers at Risual, and we're here today to present around what Risual obviously do and what we're doing in our innovation space around our minerva365 suite of applications. So in terms of who Risual are, obviously we are wedded very much to Microsoft. Just bear with me while my slide moves on. And during the presentation, if you could submit any questions either via the IM facility on Skype for Business, or alternatively email us at enquiries@risual.com. We have muted all the phones, etc., but obviously we'll try and keep that in place throughout this. And we are recording today's webinar, which will be forwarded. The link for this will be forwarded to you via email. So in terms of who Risual are a Microsoft Tier 1 partner specializing in the Microsoft stack, and we are fairly unique in the space in that we only offer Microsoft solutions across all their stack, whether that's on-premise solutions, whether it's cloud-based solutions. And our vision, Risual's vision, is to ensure that you get value out of your Microsoft investment. We appreciate that agreements that you have with Microsoft and the costs of licensing are pretty expensive, so obviously make sure we're driving business value out of that to help achieve both your business goals and leveraging the technologies available to you. We're a Tier 1 Microsoft partner, and we are also UK Country Partner of the Year for 2015. Alongside that, for the last couple of years, 2015, 2016, we are one of the Sunday Times top 100 best small business employers to work for. And we also work with Microsoft as part of their smart teaming partners. So we work with the MCS team to supply our resources to the MCS team to deliver Microsoft solutions into partners. So how do Risual actually work? Well, we're typically split between two sides of our organisation. We've got the consulting services division, and we've got the managed services division. So starting on the consulting side, we split that in two ways. So we split that between the business strategy group, which allows us to work with our customers and partners on strategic consulting, and in that team sit our engagement change practitioners, our architects, and this is where we're really dealing with business transformation, utilizing all areas of the Microsoft stack. And then sat alongside that, we've actually got the technical group, whereby we specialize and focus on all the different product areas within the Microsoft group. So whether that be Azure, Office 365, SharePoint, Alex CRM, SCCM, all those various different technology solutions. And we have subject matter experts in each of those technology stacks. So, we have UC experts, we have SCCM experts, we have identity access management experts that all sit and form part of that tactical solution, which then feed into the business group as and when required. So, offering lots of different tactical solutions to drive strategic change. And then on the other side of our business, very much, we're seeing huge growth in this area, is our services business, whereby we offer our fully managed solutions. So we have a 24/7 365 service desk operation, and we also have the proactive support in there as well. So what we're trying to do there is aid businesses to become more dynamic and agile by freeing up their resources to focus on strategic implementations of Microsoft solutions. Letting Risual take the grunt work of of running those services on a day-to-day basis, and also covering any gaps. As businesses transition from on-premise solutions into cloud, whether that's hybrid or full cloud solutions, there may be some gaps in technical knowledge that need to be covered, whether that's short or long term. And then moving on, in terms of our service offerings, just bear with me because I've lost the slides. So in terms of our strategic offerings, we're looking at three different types of proposition. So starting from left to right, we have the connected business proposition, which is all about helping our customers transform the way that they engage with their customers. So it's about engaging with citizens, clients and customers, and ensuring that they get the right information to the right device at the right time. So in terms of examples of a couple of those, in terms of Scottish Fire and Rescue, we've helped them develop an operational intelligence application, which helps, ultimately helps save lives utilising a raft of Microsoft technologies. It allows planning to take place, in the build-up. So, when a call comes in, it allows a series of planning and collaborative changes to take place across those solutions, which previously were not available to the fire and rescue team. And then working with a Premiership football club, what we were able to do for them is offer their customer service representatives, their sellers, information from a number of previously disconnected systems to allow them to cross-sell and upsell to the fans of that particular football club. So again, all about increasing match day revenue, at the same time providing an engaging customer service experience to those fans who appreciate that particular club is aware of them and understands, how they follow and support the club. In the middle section there, we've got the end user computing, which is about empowering the workforce and enabling more flexible and mobile work styles. So again, the advent of smartphones, smart devices, all those kind of things, again, allowing the staff and employees to get access to data anytime, anywhere, but more importantly, that this is secure and can be controlled as well. And then finally, the optimized service vision, where we look to enhance IT operations by finding most appropriate and more efficient delivery models, typically using a blend of solutions all from the Microsoft stack, but across Azure, on-prem solutions, and software as a service, so things like Office 365. And we're looking to deliver better services back to their customers more dynamically and effectively. And again, in terms of an example there, someone like Derby City Council, who are migrating away from a very large outsourced contract with a single provider, they're moving to a more blended solution, again, based on the Microsoft stack, and more.
It seems like we might have lost Jonathan there. He might have dropped off the call. So it's probably best. Dan, would you like to move the slide forward onto your piece about minerva365?
Yeah, certainly can. I think that was the next slide. We were almost there anyway. So today we're going to be talking about minerva365 and how this suite of applications may be able to benefit your business. My name's Daniel Oxborrow and I'm the app dev team lead here at risual. So my team of developers and a UX designer as well are responsible for designing, developing and ultimately producing solutions, not just part of the Minerva suite but also for risual as a whole, so for our customers as well as internally for us. So this is the agenda for today. We're just going to run through a quick overview of Minerva. I'll run through the different applications we've got a part of the suite, and then I'll do a demo at the end of all the applications, so you can get an idea of how they work and what they look like. Okay, so what is minerva365? Well, we've created a suite of 5 applications, and the idea behind these applications is to help organizations maximize their investment in Office 365. So the technologies that we've used to build the minerva365 suite are all Microsoft technologies and across the Microsoft stack. So things like SharePoint, Dynamics CRM, and Azure. So they form the backbone and the basis of a lot of our applications in different ways. And then we also have some mobile applications and tablet applications that work alongside the minerva365 suite that enhance those individual applications in the suite as well. And we're utilizing as much technology as we can from across the Microsoft stack. There's lots of different parts in Azure that we're using. We're utilizing some of the CRM technologies that's available to us and being able to connect directly into CRM, and also the same with SharePoint as well. So I'll talk about our first application. This is what we've called Room 365. So the idea behind this particular application is it allows you to do additional facilities bookings against your meeting rooms. So you'll ultimately have a set of meeting rooms in your organization. Your users will be booking their meetings in their standard way through Outlook. We then take all of that data that you've got in Exchange, all of the meetings that you've got in Exchange, and we pull those across into our SharePoint solution. So our Room 365 solution is built upon SharePoint Online and Exchange Online, and it synchronizes all of the data down to SharePoint and provides an interface for people to be able to then book additional equipment and catering facilities against each of their meetings if they wish to. We have a full set of approval workflows that also sit using SharePoint workflows, and those workflows allow you to have approvers for all of the rooms in your building. It also allows you to have approvals for the equipment and the catering facilities as well. So if someone wishes to have some catering for a particular meeting, then that information can be sent out to a single approver or a selection of approvers who then have to decide whether or not to approve that request for catering. And the system is designed to work across multiple sites. So all of the catering and the equipment facilities, for example, that are available are site sensitive as well. So I'll show you the interface at the end of the talk through here, and you'll see how the different equipment and the different catering appear against different sites. So whether you have a London site, for example, or like us up here, we've got our Stafford site, we have different equipment and different catering appearing against each one of them. And because we're utilizing SharePoint, we're able to add a lot more information in about each of the rooms as well. So we can add images, pictures, descriptions, and also we can describe what additional equipment is inside the rooms that people can look at and understand and see the information about that equipment, including instruction manuals as well. And to allow us to report on all of this information that's available in SharePoint, we've utilized either Power BI or Power Pivot in Excel. And that gives us all of the information that we need to about the upcoming catering bookings, for example, equipment bookings, and we can also look at utilization as well. And because it's an open system with SharePoint, we can create any reports that we wish through Power BI. So you have the facility to create additional reports using Power BI as well, as you can connect to any of the lists that sit inside the SharePoint system. So to go along with our Room 365 solution, we created some applications as well. And we have a range of different applications that help to gain even more out of the system as a whole. So we've built a mobile application that currently runs on Windows 8.1, and that application allows us to book the facilities directly through the mobile device as well. You can also view all of the same information that's available in SharePoint. You can view that directly inside the mobile application too. So all of that rich information from SharePoint is available directly on your device. We have a viewer application as well. So we've called this one the viewer, and this is designed to work on a tablet. and we would have that particular application sat outside each room. This then displays further information about whether the room's currently in use, when it's next available. It allows you to extend your meeting directly from that device as well. And it also allows you to book a meeting directly from that device. So if you're looking around trying to find a free meeting room and you find one and it's available, you can book it directly from that tablet device, and it will actually book it out in both the SharePoint side and push up a meeting to Exchange as well, so that it's properly booked out on the Exchange side of things too. The tablet also has other functions. It gives us the ability to report any issues that we have in any of the rooms that can then be sent over to services or whoever deals with your meeting rooms, for example. And then we have a third application as well, and that's an apps for Office application. So we're currently in the process of redeveloping this using the new Office Unified API, which gives us a lot more control over the information that we can use in the apps for Office application. And the idea behind this application is that it is available both in Outlook and in OA. And it pops up on the side and allows you to book your additional facilities directly from Outlook as well. So at the moment you would normally book your meeting room through Outlook and then your additional facilities through SharePoint or through the mobile application. But this Apps for Office will bring it all into one single solution as well, so people don't have to go onto the SharePoint site. If they don't want, they can book everything through Outlook. So that includes their facilities as well, whether that's equipment or catering. So that kind of gives you an overview of what the Room 365 application does. So we'll continue on to the other applications, and then I'll run through a quick demo of some of the applications at the end for you. So our second application that we have is called Cases 365. This can have either a dynamic CRM or a SharePoint backend, and the idea behind this application is it allows users to report and create cases. So one of the ways in which we've thought of using it is for local councils, for example. They could have fly tipping, graffiti, noise as a selection of categories within the application, and then users can report an issue against any of those. They also are able to specify a location and upload an image with their report as well, so that you know exactly where it happened, or for example if it's graffiti they can take a picture of that to show you what the issue actually is. And that particular list of report types is completely customizable as well. So whether it's in Dynamics, CRM or SharePoint, you can change that list from a management point of view. So the end user will then see that change. And those list of reports can be anything, for example. And when we're using the native dynamic CRM integration as well, it allows us to actually create case entities as well. So we can have proper integration with CRM with cases that can then be assigned and managed by staff, and those staff can actually manage it through the application as well when it's using CRM. So they're able to view a list of all of their assigned cases, view all the information about those cases that have been assigned to them, and then resolve them directly through the application too. And the application also supports the ability to log in anonymously. So if you were going to release this to a wider audience, for example, you wouldn't actually have to have individual SharePoint licenses or CRM licenses for everybody who's going to log into the system. They can use an anonymous login to send up reports, and then it would just be your staff and your administrators who would have the direct logins to the system. Okay, so our third application that we have is Places 365. So this application is designed around points of interest. So it's very similar to something, a rating system, for example, but it's a more corporate version that you would use internally for your internal staff. So it utilizes SharePoint as a backend, allowing authentication against SharePoint, and it allows you to create, again, customizable categories and create locations and points of interest around those. So it's sort of like a corporate version of TripAdvisor, for example. But the main difference that you're getting is that the categories are completely customizable again, so it doesn't have to be based around restaurants and hotels. It could be, for example, if there's the medical industry, you could base it around doctor surgeries and walk-in centres, and then it would have the ability for people to create reviews on those particular points of interest in those categories. And there's a tagging system that we have in there as well for searching, so people can easily find the point of interest that they're after. And once they have found that particular point of interest, they can either leave a review, leave their comments about that particular point of interest, or they can even navigate to it as well. So if someone's trying to find a particular point of interest that's around them, they can use the Around Me type of functionality, and it will come up with all of the different points of interest on a map for them, and then they can actually start a navigation over to that particular point of interest. And we have filters and category selection in the application as well to allow people to really drill down into what they're interested in with that particular type of categories that are available to them. So as you would expect, it has a reviewing system in there. It's a 5-star system, so people can leave comments and rate those particular points of interest as well, and everybody can see those comments. And the difference with this being a more business corporate orientated application is that, you know, all of the comments that people leave are your colleagues and other people that are going to be more reliable than something as public as TripAdvisor, for example. So we actually use Places 365 here at Risual, and we have it set up for our consultants so that when they're out at customer sites and they're going to different hotels or restaurants around the customer sites that they're going to, they can see what other consultant colleagues have thought of those particular places and know which places are good places to stay or eat, for example. Okay, so Shorten 365 is the next application in the Minerva suite, and this application, again, similar to Places 365. It's something that you'll have probably seen in a similar vein before. So much like Bitly or Owly, for example. But the main difference with Shorten 365 is that it allows you to maintain control of all of the data that you're using. So it utilizes an Azure backend with an Azure SQL server, and that's based inside your Azure tenant. You can then have a vanity URL that sits over the top of all of your shortened links, and that can align your corporate branding for all of the links that you send out. So we use this internally and externally for Risual. So all of the links that we send out for Risual have risu.al and then the shortened link that appears after it. So it means that we're creating one point and one type of brand that everyone can see when they're looking at anything to do with Risual. And those URLs allow us to shorten anything from Facebook links to SharePoint links, so that not only is it also shortening long links, but it also allows us to keep that branding all together. Links can be generated so that they're automatically generated, and we have they come out at about five letters long, or you can create your own short URLs as well. So you can specify what you want that short URL to be to make it more memorable, for example. You can also password shorten URLs as well. So if there's a particular URL that you want people to be able to go to, but only certain people to know what then sits behind that shortened URL, you can add a password on there that people need to enter before it will redirect them across. And because everything's running through our URL service, you're able to gather statistics about those URLs as well. So you can see the agent information as each click comes through. You can see how many clicks and how many hits there have been, returning visits, and you can also see where geographically they were located, and some further information about the operating system and the browser that was used to access that particular URL. And we base all of this around Active Directory. So everything is Active Directory secured. So there's groups that are allowed access to it, for example. And you can have your URLs secured behind there for creating URLs. So that makes sure that not anybody can just come along and create a URL. They're going to have to be against the right group in Active Directory. We also have a SharePoint application as well, and this sits inside SharePoint in the top taskbar, and that allows you to shorten any of those long SharePoint links just to make it a little bit easier to share those links, because we all know that SharePoint links can come out at quite long and are quite unsightly when you post them into emails. So we've developed an application that allows you to quickly shorten a link on the page that you're on inside SharePoint, for example. And again, because we have control of all of this data and it's sitting in your Azure tenant, you can block certain domains from being shortened. You can also change and configure the protection system that sits in there to stop a large amount of hits coming through, for example. So there's lots of configuration options that are available to you as well. Okay, and finally, the fifth application in the Minerva suite is called Events365. And this application has a SharePoint backend, and it allows us to show a list of events to users. So ultimately, those users will register online for a particular set of events that they're interested in. Those events will then appear on their mobile device. Each event can have a selection of sessions. They can then register for those sessions, any sessions that they're particularly interested in, and then at a specified time before that session starts, they'll be notified on their device that session is about to start. They're also able to leave feedback for that particular session, and they can also leave feedback for the event as a whole. Okay, so now we're going to do a live demo of all of the applications that we've got for the Minerva suite. So this is our first application that I mentioned earlier. This is Room 365. This is the SharePoint side of Room 365. So the users will create their meetings in Exchange at the moment. All that information, as I mentioned, gets synced down to the SharePoint side. We can then view our different appointments in SharePoint. So these are just my appointments. You can also view everyone's reservations and appointments as well if you wish. But what this then allows me to do is to go into my particular meeting. I can then have a look at both the equipment and the catering, and I can order additional equipment or catering for my meeting. So you can see here that I can add a Surface Pro 3 to my meeting, and if there's any cost associated with that, that can be added in as well. Or I could add a buffet lunch or a chocolate fountain for my meeting too. I can also specify a delivery time and the dietary requirements if we want. This particular meeting has already been approved. So a meeting room can have an approver on it as well as the catering and the equipment as well. So that all uses the SharePoint workflows in the back end that provides that functionality. And if you request catering, then that information goes over to the equipment or the catering manager, and they'll get a notification that someone wants particular catering for their meeting. They can then approve or reject that as they see fit. You can see here that we're using the basic lookout for a SharePoint site. So because it is SharePoint, you can theme that to match your corporate branding or in any other way that you see fit. And because we're using that SharePoint site, we're able to put more information in about all of our different rooms as well. So we can make this a much more richer environment than just a standard sort of room booking system. So if we go into this particular room, this is called the snug that we have here at Risual. You can see it's not your normal sort of meeting room, and we can add a picture in here. We can add a layout in there as well, so a floor plan, and we can also specify different equipment that's located in this room. So if I click through to the television, for example, that's the TV that's on the wall there. We can also get to instructions, just in case the user needs to know how to use it. And it's the same for everything else on Room 365 as well. We can add as much information as we want to for each of the different types of information that's in here. The catering and the standard equipment are also site sensitive as well. So you can see that we've got different sites for different catering types. So they'll appear only for a room that's on that particular site. And again, because this is a SharePoint site, we can add any other links or any other pages that we want to add more information into the system. So take, for example, we put a floor plan in here of some of our buildings, just so that people know what rooms that they're booking, because it's always difficult sometimes to remember the different names of the rooms. So along with the SharePoint site, we also have our tablet application, which I mentioned earlier. So this tablet application is designed to sit on the outside of all of the rooms, and it provides you with a very quick and easy way of knowing if there's currently a meeting in that room, and if there's not a meeting in that room, you can also book it out immediately if you wish. So we can see on this particular interface, we know that this room is currently in use by one of my colleagues, and it's currently booked out. But if I want to, I could, from the tablet device, book the room for a period of time for later on in the day. That will also book it out in Exchange as well, so it will put a proper meeting into Exchange, so it can't be booked out any further. And if there are no meetings after your current meeting, you can extend your meeting as well. So you can add additional time on there directly from the tablet without having to go into Outlook. We also have the ability to report any issues that are occurring in the room, and that can be sent off to the service manager, for example. Now, to go along with the tablet application, we also have a Windows application as well. So this is our Windows 8.1 application that sits alongside the tablet application for Room 365. So you can see here that I have access to view my reservations that I've currently got set for today. And I can go into any of those reservations and I can book equipment or catering directly from my mobile device. So I don't even have So we can also view information about the rooms as well. So take, for example, here, I can view information about the snug, which we saw again on the SharePoint site. And that shows us all the same sort of information that we had before, from the image to the layout, and also to the equipment information that's available as well. Okay, so the next application we've got is Cases 365. And as I mentioned earlier, this application allows people to raise issues and raise cases for their organization. So this list here is completely customizable. So we've got it set up for something like a local council, where you can have littering, fly tipping, graffiti, for example. But it could be used in many different situations. So ultimately, a user will come in here, type their information in. They'll then select a particular report type. And when they go next, they're then able to specify a location where that report needs to take place. So you can see here, I can also move that spot around and get the location just right. And then I can also upload an image as well. And this image can be one I've just taken or one from my existing gallery. At this point here, the user can then submit that up into either the CRM backend or the SharePoint backend. And we then have the ability for a user, a staff member, to be able to log in here as well. So as you can see, there's a staff login as well as the anonymous login. And if the staff member logs in, they're able to view any of the cases that are currently assigned to them. So they can resolve those cases directly through the application as well as seeing all the different information about them. And that's when we use the dynamic CRM backend for that. We have the concept of the anonymous login as well, so that if this is going to be rolled out to a wider user base, then not everybody needs to have a SharePoint license or a dynamic CRM license in order to use the application. Users also have the ability, when they're logged in, to send feedback as well. So there's a contact us form in there. Okay, so the next application we've got is the Places 365 application. So as I mentioned, this is a more corporate version of a point of interest application. So we've got it set up here in Risual to use for our consultants, so that when they're out on site, they can get an idea of what the restaurants and the accommodation in and around the customers they're visiting and what they're like. And all this information is provided by other colleagues of the company. So we always know that the information is accurate and is going to be sensible commenting in there. So we can go into one of our topics. So if we take restaurants and food, for example, we can then look at any of the points of interest that are near us, and you can see different comments and a rating system as well. So all of these categories, just in the same way for cases, they're all customizable. So it doesn't have to be bar and restaurants. It could be any category style for point of interest. So that can be completely customized. You also have the ability to use the mapping system in there as well. So you can have a look at all of the different points of interest that are around you as well. So this, for example, is just located where I am, and now it's going to bring up all of the different points that are around me. So I can see whichever ones we've got. I can see those directly on there, and I can also go straight to it as well. And then we've integrated it with Bing Maps as well on the Windows mobile phone. So we have the ability to do directions to navigate us to that particular point of interest if we wanted to as well. In this particular case, it's not very far away from me. So this application is currently another Windows 8.1 application, and we're just in the process of upgrading that to a Windows 10 UWP application, and that will allow it to be used across all of the different Windows devices. Okay, so finally we have our shortened 365 application, and this application is for shortening URLs. So you will have seen examples of this already with regards to things like bit.ly and hourly that are also URL shorteners, but the difference here, as I mentioned earlier, is that all of this is your own data. So you have the ability to interrogate that data, and you also are in control of what URLs are created. As you can see on the website, we brand everything risu.il, so all of our links that come in and out of the company, both internally and both externally, we shorten down to risu.il with a link after it. So you can generate a particular link, which will automatically generate a link for the URL you're after, or you can specify a more memorable link if you wish. We can also password protect links as well, so that if you want to hide the link that's behind it so that only people with the right password can get to it, you can enter a password in there that people have to enter before they're redirected. And because all of this data is ours and it's stored in Azure, we can also have a look at any of the information and the statistics that go along with that data. So take, for example, this particular link. This is our corporate video from last year. So we can see further information about this particular video, the link that it goes to, the browsers people were using when they came through this link, what platforms they're on, what OS that is, and whether the visitors are multiple visitors or whether they just came here for a single visit. We can also see the number of clicks over the last month, so you can see a chart of how that's changing. You can also see the total hits and when it was last accessed. And down at the bottom we also have a map as well, so you can see where those clicks have originated from, which countries are generating the hits onto that particular URL. Users also have the ability to be able to provide feedback about particular URLs as well, and links. So if there's any issues, users can submit that. Those then go into the admin interface, and people can use the ticket system in there in order to respond to them. If I go into our list of URLs that we've got in here, as you can see, there's some URLs which are automatically generated, like the one I've highlighted. And you can also see we can enter any URLs that we wish to make them more memorable. So we also have a SharePoint application that sits alongside Shorten 365 as well, that allows us to shorten any of those long SharePoint URLs. So with a single click of a button we can generate a shortened version of a particular SharePoint page that you're on. And all of these links, as I mentioned, all are produced using risual.il in our particular branding. So it means that you do get that one single branding identity for all of your links that you send out, both internally and externally. So Minerva is a product suite that we're continuing to develop. We've got lots of ideas and lots of things that we want to carry on with Minerva, and to help make it more feature rich and to evolve the system as a whole. And some of those parts on the roadmap include centralizing the configuration system. So at the moment you configure each app individually. They all have a single URL that allows them to log in. Each application does. So we want to centralize that so that the users have a single place that they specify when they get the application, and that particular individual URL that they use downloads all of the correct information for all of the different applications and allows it to configure it all from that single URL. We want to centralize the deployment system as well. So at the moment, each application is deployed individually. So we want to bring that all in under one particular way of deploying it, so that everything can be deployed and updated from a single point. Gamification, something that is certainly used in many different places. You'll have seen it with achievements and badges, for example. So if people submit 10 reviews, for example, they get a particular badge or an achievement for doing so. So it just encourages people to use applications and to take part and to be part of that system by giving them rewards for doing so. We would like to add some enterprise suite features as well, so things like white labeling the applications, so that we can create an entire suite that are not specifically branded, and they can be white labeled or rebranded to an organization specific branding and colors. And then we've got a lot of application specific enhancements that we want to make as well. So they range from additional Windows 10 application for Room 365, for example, with the ability to also book rooms directly from the SharePoint site without having to use the Outlook part. So we already have that on the tablet. We would just like to implement that from the SharePoint side of things as well. The additional things to things like places as well, auto completion of tags, and push notifications to the user as well, so that we can send information out with regards to Places 365 directly to the user. And for Events 365, which is the newest application in the SharePoint, in the Minerva suite, there's lots of other things that we would like to add in there to really enhance that product. And that involves things like the ability to actually sign up to events and register that you've attended the event directly through there. So when you arrive at the event, rather than having to necessarily go to a particular place to register your attendance, you can do that all through the application as well. So that's the suite as a whole. As you can see from all of the different applications we've got, they all use different parts of the Office 365 stack and all different technologies. And again, as I said at the beginning, the idea behind those is to try and allow people to really get a good investment from what they've already got for Office 365, and to maximize their use of those particular applications, so that they're not just being used for one particular thing. They can be used for a range of different parts of the Minerva suite, for example. So I know that was quite a quick run through of all of the different applications, but are there any questions at all? Rob, I don't know if we've had any through while I've been talking.
No, we've had nothing on the IMs, but I'll unmute the audience now. So if anyone wants to speak up and let us know if they've got any questions, do let us know. Don't be shy. Nope. No, it doesn't seem like we've got any questions today.
We have just had one come in, guys, on the IM. Is Minerva multilingual? And if not, what's the roadmap for that?
That's a good question, actually. From a SharePoint point of view, any of the parts within SharePoint you could certainly make multilingual quite easily. The applications are not currently multilingual, but I think as we move them up to Windows 10 UWP, it could certainly be something that we could start looking into to create both from a multilingual point of view, and obviously the numbering and dating systems in there as well.
Okay, well, with that in mind, everyone, unless anybody's got any more questions, I think we can wrap it up there, give everybody 10 minutes back in their diaries. I'd like to thank you all for attending. Obviously, if anything crops up afterwards, if you email through to enquiries@risual.com, we'll ensure we respond to you quickly. And if you need anything else, please do not hesitate to contact one of the team. Thank you all for your time.